Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the double-edged sword that is financial leverage. Now, as a CPA candidate, I know you are constantly bombarded with formulas, ratios, and endless tables. But today we're going to focus on the actual intuition behind those numbers. We really want to understand the profound business reality of how companies fund their growth, and honestly, the sheer amount of risk they take on when they do. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the basics of leverage, operating versus financial leverage, the degree of financial leverage, why a high DFL means volatility, and finally, some common exam mistakes. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the basics of leverage. Think of a business as a giant set of scales. It's a constant balancing act. To acquire resources, your current and non-current assets on one side, a company absolutely has to balance the scales using its capital structure on the other. It has to choose between using debt, like liabilities, or equity. And that choice, exactly how much debt to use, is literally the foundation of solvency and leverage. Which brings us to our formal definition. Leverage is essentially borrowing money to purchase capital or fund operations, all in the hope of increasing your potential return. And I really want you to notice that word, hope. When a company takes on debt, they are basically placing a bet. They're betting that the resources they buy are going to generate a return that's higher than the interest rate. It's a super powerful tool to amplify your gains. But here's the catch, and it's a big one for the exam. This introduces serious tension. Those bills, they must be paid, even if your revenues unexpectedly completely dry up. The crucial point here is that leverage creates risk. The bank doesn't care if you had a slow month or a terrible quarter, right? Those fixed financing costs must be met. This is the core trade-off. You're trading stability for the mere potential of higher returns. Moving right along to Section 2, operating versus financial leverage. You absolutely must keep these two entirely separate in your head for the exam. Operating leverage is all about fixed operations. So think major capital expenditures, expensive factory equipment, or massive long-term leases. Financial leverage, on the other hand, looks squarely at the degree of debt in a firm's capital structure. It focuses purely on those fixed financial costs, like interest expense. Mixing the two up is a surefire way to lose points, so don't do it. Okay, on to Section 3, degree of financial leverage, or DFL. Now, rather than getting totally bogged down in complex math, I want you to focus on the core relationship here. DFL measures exactly how those fixed financing costs from the debt side trickle all the way down to affect your EPS. It's fundamentally a measure of sensitivity. It basically asks, if our operating income changes, how wildly will our earnings per share swing because of the heavy anchor of our fixed debt payments? Let's actually put some numbers to this using a really simple illustration straight from the chapter. Let's say your earnings before interest and taxes, your EBIT, creeps up by a modest 6%. But down at the bottom line, your earnings per share suddenly jumps by a massive 12%. While the math here is brilliantly intuitive, just divide that 12% EPS jump by the 6% EBIT increase, and boom, you get a DFL of exactly 2. Your financial leverage basically just acted as a multiplier. For every 1% change in operating income, your earnings per share changes by 2%. And hey, that sounds absolutely amazing when EBIT goes up. But remember, the multiplier works in both directions. If EBIT drops by 6%, your EPS plummets by 12%. Yikes! Which brings us perfectly to Section 4. High DFL means volatility. When a firm has a high percentage of fixed financial costs, it just has to accept way more risk to try and increase its EPS. And that means earnings per share becomes highly volatile. A low DFL means a company is mostly funded by equity, so a little hiccup in sales isn't going to completely wipe out their earnings. But a high DFL? That means debt dominates the capital structure. Because those huge interest payments are locked in place, any fluctuation in operating revenue causes these magnified, volatile shockwaves all the way down at the EPS level. If you look at the solvency ratios for a business, let's call it Amy's market, you can see exactly how an increasing reliance on borrowed funds practically heightens financial leverage over time. Let's say their debt-to-equity ratio steadily rises over 5 years, and their total liabilities actually triple. Well, as they take on more and more debt relative to equity, their fixed financing costs grow. This pushes their DFL significantly higher, essentially guaranteeing a much more volatile EPS over time. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, common exam mistakes. Trap number 1. Please don't fall into the trap of assuming leverage is universally positive just because it can increase returns. Sure, in a booming economy, debt acts like rocket fuel for your EPS. But leverage is a multiplier of gains and losses. A high DFL means greater risk. So if an exam question implies leverage only has an upside, you know immediately it's a distractor. Trap number 2 is another massive one, confusing your types of fixed costs. If you see a question talking about, say, buying a massive new factory or locking in fixed operating costs, your brain needs to immediately categorize that as operating leverage, not financial leverage. Financial leverage is strictly, and I mean strictly, about the debt in the capital structure and fixed financial costs like interest. So let's lock these absolute rules in your mind right now. Leverage is a double-edged sword. Debt drives financial leverage, and a higher DFL guarantees wider swings in your EPS. If you just anchor yourself to these basic truths, those complex ratio questions are suddenly going to feel a whole lot more intuitive. You'll stop trying to blindly memorize equations and actually start seeing the financial story the business is telling you. So as you continue studying, I want you to keep asking yourself this question. If you increase fixed financing costs, are you truly prepared for the amplified volatility in your earnings per share? Always keep that profound business reality in focus. Every dollar of debt fundamentally changes the DNA of a company's risk. Understand the intuition, respect the volatility, and you are absolutely going to crush this topic on the exam. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying.